There's this moment that happens to a lot of people who are trying to get their money together. It usually comes late at night. You're sitting there, maybe on the couch, maybe in bed, phone glowing in your face, and you open your banking app. And you're not checking it because you're excited, you're checking it because you always check it. Habit, muscle memory, anxiety ritual. You scroll past the checking account, past the credit card balance, and then you get to savings or investments. And the number is fine. It's not terrible, it's not amazing, it's just kind of there. Maybe it's $12,000, maybe $27,000. Maybe you've been hovering around the same range for what feels like forever. And you think, how are people doing this? How are people getting to six figures? How does anyone ever hit $100,000, let alone more than that? Because for you, every dollar feels heavy. Every thousand takes effort. It feels like pushing a car uphill with one hand while life keeps throwing potholes in the road. A car repair here, a vacation you didn't want to miss. Rent goes up, groceries cost more. Something always eats the progress. And then you hear people say things like, the first 100K is the hardest, or it gets easier after that. And honestly, it sounds fake, or at least exaggerated, like one of those phrases people repeat because it sounds smart, not because it actually means anything. But here's the weird part. For people who do cross that first $100,000 mark, almost all of them say the same thing afterward. They say the second 100K grows shockingly faster. Not a little faster, not, oh yeah, marginally faster, shockingly faster. And that makes no sense at first. Money is money, right? A dollar doesn't suddenly gain magical powers just because you have more of them. You're still you, the world is still expensive, life is still messy. I spend way too much time thinking about money, honestly, like probably an unhealthy amount of time. Not just spreadsheets and investing in numbers, but the psychology of it. Why some people feel stuck for decades, even with decent incomes, while others seem to hit this invisible turning point where things start compounding, financially, mentally, emotionally. And the more I've thought about it, the more I've realized that the reason the second 100K grows faster has almost nothing to do with luck or genius or secret investments. It's about momentum. It's about identity. It's about friction disappearing in ways no one explains. And if you're somewhere before that first $100,000 or even right around it, understanding why this happens can completely change how you approach money from here on out. So, let's talk about why the second $100,000 grows so much faster, and why, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The first thing no one really explains is that the first $100,000 is built on the worst possible terrain. It's like trying to run a race through wet cement. When you're starting out, every dollar has a job. Actually, more than one job. It's not just saving, it's rent, it's debt, it's emergencies, it's catching up, it's undoing mistakes from your early 20s when you thought future you would magically handle everything. So, when you save $500, it doesn't feel like progress, it feels like survival. Because that $500 could disappear at any moment, and sometimes it does. That's why the first 100K feels slow. Not because you're bad at money, but because you're fighting gravity from every direction at once. I remember the phase where I'd save for months, feel proud, and then one stupid expense would knock me right back. New tires, medical bill, a move, something boring and unavoidable. And suddenly that progress evaporated. It messes with your head. You start thinking, what's the point? But here's the thing. While it feels like you're standing still, you're actually building something invisible. Skills, habits, boundaries, muscle memory around money. You're learning how to say no. You're learning how to live slightly below your means. You're learning what actually matters to you. And none of that shows up in your net worth number, but it matters more than the money itself. Because once you cross that first 100K, you're no longer standing in quicksand. You're on solid ground. The second 100K grows faster because money finally starts working without you having to touch it every day. Let's be real for a second. When you have $10,000 invested, the market moves and nothing happens. Or it goes up $300 and you're like, cool, that bought half a grocery trip. It doesn't feel powerful. But when you have $100,000 invested, the math changes emotionally. A normal market year can add $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 without you doing anything. No extra hours, no side hustle, no discipline required that month. And that's the first time money starts to feel like a teammate instead of a burden. The second 100K benefits from that momentum. The first one had to be dragged uphill by you alone. The second one has help. It's like pushing a snowball. At first, it barely moves. Then suddenly, it's rolling, picking up mass, pulling itself forward. And here's what most people miss. It's not just the returns, it's the psychological relief. When your investments start contributing meaningful dollars, you don't feel like you're doing this alone anymore. And that changes how consistently you keep going. This part is subtle, but it might be the most important one. Before your first 100K, you're someone trying to save money. After it, you become someone who has money. That identity shift sounds small. It's not. Before, saving felt optional, fragile, like something you did if life allowed it. After, saving feels like just what you do, like brushing your teeth, like locking the door before bed. You stop asking, should I invest this? You start asking, where should I invest this? And that shift alone speeds everything up. I've noticed this in myself and in basically everyone I've talked to about money. Once you see yourself as a person who builds wealth, your decisions align automatically. You don't have to white-knuckle discipline as much. You still mess up, you still spend on dumb things sometimes, but you return to the baseline faster. That's why the second 100K grows faster. It's supported by who you've become, not just what you earn. Here's an underrated reason the second 100K grows faster. Your life gets kind of boring. Not emotionally boring, financially boring. By the time you hit 100K, you've usually stabilized the chaos. Fewer emergencies, less debt, more predictability. You've already paid the stupid tax. You've already learned what doesn't work. You've already optimized the big stuff. And boring finances are efficient finances. When nothing dramatic is happening, money accumulates quietly. No fires to put out, no constant backsliding. People underestimate how powerful stability is for wealth building. The absence of drama is a growth strategy. Before $100,000, it's tempting to chase shortcuts, hot investments, crypto moonshots, the next thing that promises to get you there faster. After $100,000, most people calm down. They've seen enough cycles, enough hype, enough sure things that weren't. So they stick to boring, repeatable systems, automatic investing, diversification, long-term thinking. And boring systems win, not because they're exciting, but because they compound without burning you out. The second 100K grows faster because time finally has something to work with. Compounding doesn't care about effort, it cares about duration and consistency. The longer your money stays invested, the more dramatic the curve becomes. That's why the gap between 100K and 200K is often much shorter than the gap between $0 and 100K. You didn't suddenly get smarter, you just stayed in the game long enough for time to matter. Another uncomfortable truth: most people earn more over time. Not overnight, not magically, but gradually. Raises, job changes, better negotiation, skills compounding. The second 100K benefits from higher income and better habits. That combination is powerful. You don't feel richer day to day, but your savings rate improves without you noticing. This one is emotional. Before the first 100K, every financial decision feels heavy, risky, permanent. After, you trust yourself more. You've proven you won't sabotage everything. You've built evidence. So you invest with less fear. You don't panic sell. You don't freeze. Confidence reduces costly mistakes,
And avoiding mistakes is just as important as making good decisions.
Early on, money is about survival. Can I cover this? Can I handle that? Later, it becomes optimization. Can I do this better, smarter, more efficiently? That shift speeds everything up because optimization is a higher level problem than survival. You're no longer plugging leaks, you're improving flow. Here's the most important part. If you haven't hit your first 100K yet, this isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to reframe what you're experiencing. The slowness isn't failure. The frustration isn't incompetence. The boredom isn't stagnation. It's normal. You're building the runway. You're laying the foundation. You're becoming the person who can handle momentum when it arrives. And it will arrive if you stay consistent long enough. If there's one thing I hope sticks with you, it's this. The second $100,000 doesn't grow faster because of some secret trick. It grows faster because the hardest part of the journey isn't earning money. It's becoming someone who can keep it, invest it, and not panic when it fluctuates. The first 100K changes you. The second one benefits from that change. So if you're early in the process and it feels slow and thankless and kind of invisible, that doesn't mean it's not working. It means you're doing the hardest version of it. You're learning patience in a world that rewards urgency. You're choosing consistency in a culture obsessed with shortcuts. You're building something that doesn't announce itself until one day it does. And when it does, things start moving faster than you expected. Not because life got easier, but because you got better. So keep going, quietly, imperfectly, consistently. That second 100K is closer than it feels.